Welcome to the Menowave Lounge, hot flashes and cool conversations with Marti Daly and Robin Duke. Join us and our team of health professionals, holistic practitioners, and coaches as we talk openly about the ups, downs, and everything in between when it comes to navigating the Menowave of menopause.
Welcome, everyone, to the Menowave Lounge, hot flashes and cool conversations. Today, we are hosting Melissa Perkins as our special guest. Hi, Melissa. How are you?
Great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Melissa is a 27-year veteran of the health and fitness industry with a master's in health promotion and numerous national certifications. Diagnosed with PCOS at age 18, Melissa has dealt with her hormonal issues for decades, using nutrition, exercise, and healthy habits to maintain a healthy weight, manage stress on her body, and avoid medical issues. For years, she has used her firsthand experience and education to help other women dealing with hormonal issues through personal training and coachings. And we are super excited to have you on today. I'm excited for this topic. Before we get into this, we like to start every show with just a fun menopause anecdote, because sometimes, as we all know, menopause has some not so fun moments. So Melissa, we'll go ahead and start with you. Do you have any fun menopause moments to share?
Yeah, I will freely admit that vanity still gets to me. I've done a lot of work on my mindset and being okay with my body as it's getting older and changing. But I did make sure that I covered up my grays here that were starting to show a little bit on my roots between colorings at my wonderful stylist. So, I didn't put any makeup on, although I do love makeup. But yeah, I had to make sure those weren't like glinting into the camera for everybody. So full disclosure, I will continue to color this hair as long as I feel necessary, for me, we need to do things that make us feel good. And that's one of the things for me is saying, okay, I like my brown hair and I'm just going to keep it that way.
I get it. Absolutely. Yes.
Well, I can very much relate to the whole hair thing for me. So just this week, I was scrolling through some old pictures and I came across this picture and I literally had to look at it for I don't know, about 5 seconds. And I'm just like, that girl looks really familiar. And it was me when I was in my 30s. My hair was short. It was dark like yours. And I was working out at the gym all the time. And I was very fit and I was a lot thinner. My face was a lot thinner. And I literally didn't recognize myself.
What was it like when you're like, oh, wait, that's me?
Yeah, I was like, damn, I was good looking back then.
Very cool.
So that was funny, just looking back at old pictures and seeing what we looked like back then versus who we are, our lovely selves today. Marti?
And, to touch on that, I don't know if you ladies have noticed this, but, sometimes I'll look at a picture, especially now that I'm getting older, and all I can see in the moment is what my perceived, my flaws, like my face is goofy. I have a weird expression. I don't like the way I'm standing, or my pose is not very flattering. And then maybe it's a year or so later and I look at the picture again and I'm like, yeah, it's not half bad. That's actually pretty good.
Yes. And some of the things we're going to be talking about today is how our mindset is today about ourselves. Marti, do you want to jump right in?
Yeah, but first I'm going to go ahead and share my funny minnow moment, because I've been sitting because I think it was so. Halloween was not too long ago, and my neighborhood did this for the first annual witches ride, which is the coolest thing, where we get on our bicycles dressed as witches and ride around the neighborhood and throw candy to kids.
Oh, fun.
And we're in Colorado, and it was super cold, as Halloween always is here, and we're like it's so freezing. And so I meet up with these women, and most of them are probably in their 30s, and they're all bundled up and all of this. And what am I wearing? I am wearing just this thermal t-shirt and long sleeve t-shirt and some sweatpants. Do you think I was cold? No, I was not cold at all. And they're like, Marti, aren't you freezing? I'm like, no, I'm not. So I was like, yeah, score one for some perimenopause, for some hot flash. This heat, I was like, it kept me toasty warm when I needed it. My hands, though, got a little frozen. But
Oh.
I just thought it was a funny one to share, because sometimes we can look at it and think, everything is bad, but sometimes we can work these things to our advantage when we have that right moment. But getting into today's topic, I wanted to share Melissa's mission is to help women break through all the misinformation about perimenopause, menopause, and she's really dedicated to providing good, well-researched answers. So I was really happy to have her on the show today. Melissa, give us an idea, like, what is some of the misinformation that women are facing out there?
Where do I start?
Let's start with weight gain. Yeah, let's start with weight gain.
That's one of the most common topics. So that's a perfect one to start out with. Inevitably, both men and women tend to gain weight as we age, but women, we tend to always struggle a little bit more than men. Part of that has to do with the fact that our bodies are different. Men have more muscle, women just naturally don't. Our bodies are also made to procreate and bear children. So we're going to carry more body fat to allow our bodies to sustain a pregnancy and nursing, etc. So sometimes biology is the first thing we look at, but then we look at, okay, now I'm getting older. And I used to never have to worry about my weight. A lot of women I hear say that to me. I never had a problem before, or all of a sudden it came out of nowhere, menopause or perimenopause. And then I've gained 20 pounds, 25 pounds, et cetera. And they feel like it all kind of goes into their midsection a lot of times. And they feel like, what happened to my body? And they feel like they don't even recognize their own body and don't feel like themselves anymore. Mm-hmm. And so, number one, I will say to those women, I've been in this industry, like you said, a couple decades, almost 3 at this point. I'm a personal trainer. I'm a nutrition coach. I'm a health educator. The same thing happened to me too. It not maybe as much, but I still had that hormonal shift where my body said, whoa, and everything was out of whack, even though I was doing a lot of the right things because that's what I do. That's what I know to be healthy. I still did that too. So I first want to say to women, I'm not speaking out of turn because I've been there and I had to do things and adjust what I did to suit me at this age and this hormonal status, etc. So I think the first thing we need to do is understand that you're not alone. You're not crazy. You're not necessarily doing something wrong. It's just you may not understand that now your body needs something different because it has changed. And a large part is our hormones are one thing. Metabolism is another thing because we're also losing muscle mass as we get older. So we don't necessarily have to blame it all on hormones, although there are many hormones beyond just estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, which are kind of the big 3 we tend to talk about. But there's also cortisol. There are hunger hormones like leptin and ghrelin and et cetera, that can be off, our thyroid hormones. So there could be a lot of things going on in our bodies right now that are tipping point to that weight gain that happens. So we need to look at what's the cause, understand it, and then and realize that maybe what used to work before for your weight maintenance or loss or whatever, it probably is not going to work anymore. That's one of the biggest things that I try to let women understand is the weight gain may be inevitable, but it doesn't mean you can't reverse it. But it also means you may not be your 25-year-old self again either, right?
Right. I see so much, and you probably do too, in the main Facebook group, is women, they want to beat themselves up over the fact that their weight has shifted. I have a hormone imbalance myself. I have thyroid disease, and I've had to learn a lot about the hormones. And when one is out of kilter, they all interplay. And so
Yes.
then when one's out, like insulin, the other ones will adjust as well. And it just adds to the complexity of it. But I also read that because our estrogen is dropping, that does contribute, because I guess our fat does store estrogen as well. And that's why a lot of times
Correct.
women
Yes.
get that menobelly. And so it's not a failing on their part. It's not something that they're doing wrong. But like you said, okay, this is happening. It doesn't have to be a negative. It's more of a, let's course correct. Let's say, okay, let's look at what's going on for you, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very good.
Absolutely.
Very true. And, when I was looking at that picture earlier and I saw I was so much thinner but I was also in my 30s too. I was also working out really hard. I was eating differently. My hormones were more in balance. And now I'm 61. And so I exercise differently. I eat differently. My body, I can tell, has slowed down quite a bit. And for me, accepting where I'm at today and what my health or what health looks like for me today versus when I was in my 30s is how the mindset, how we as coaches help our clients view themselves through new lenses, that we can see ourselves where our health is today or the things that we want to work on, or it can be like a whole series of things. But like Melissa said, it's understanding the information that's going on in your body. And so that's such a good topic. I thank you for bringing that up.
What about exercise? What are women surprised to hear, or some myths that they have around their need to exercise?
Sure. And that kind of comes from, the weight gain starts to happen and women think, well, I'm not doing enough. So I need to do more of whatever it is I'm doing. Most women think of cardio as the key to weight loss. But honestly, women, especially in our 40s and women who are in perimenopause and menopause and beyond, really need to start switching their focus to strength training and maintaining and or building muscle, because even in our 30s we start losing muscle that as the natural aging process. And there is a statistic out there that our muscle loss actually accelerates as we get into perimenopause and menopause, which is part of what is leading to that weight gain is muscle. I'm a big fan of muscle because it works for you. It burns more calories even when you're at rest. So one of the things that I teach a lot of women is that we need to shift our focus from, not that cardio is bad, but if body fat loss is your goal, along with stronger bones as well, because that's another thing that happens as we lose that protective estrogen is our bone loss increases. So two things just off the bat that strength training will help are building that muscle tissue, which burns more calories, which boosts your metabolism. And even though women think, well, I don't burn as many calories, they're looking at their smartwatch or something, it actually burns more calories outside of the gym and works for you. So building muscle, and I'm not talking about being bulky and muscular, but because it takes a lot of work to build muscle, especially for women and especially in menopause, in the menopause transition. But that will really start boosting the metabolism. And I can speak for myself is I adjusted the kinds of workouts that I did and took some cardio out, focused more on strength training, heavy strength training, building that muscle that I had started to lose as my hormones started to shift so I could bring it back. So those are the things as far as exercises, not necessarily having to do more, but doing the right things for the body to help it along. And then also finding things that you enjoy too. I know a lot of people don't love exercise like I do. And so if it feels like, oh, I hate this activity, well, find something that is more enjoyable for you. Maybe it's walking, which is wonderful. Maybe it's a Pilates type thing, or maybe it's yoga because stress management is an issue, which is a big one. I'm, kind of skipping ahead, but as far as you'll start to see how these things sort of tie in together and all work kind of hand in hand to help.
Can I ask, is swimming more cardio or is it helpful for strength training as well?
The great things about swimming, it is more of a cardio based thing because it is for the heart. It is great because it is low impact. So it's great for the joint. So if people have joint issues, water aerobics, swimming is one of the greatest things. The only thing you don't get is the impact, which is good for your bone strength. So like walking, running, strength training with weights, those things do contribute to the bone strengthening. You're getting some resistance through the water, but it's usually not quite enough to get that level of the bone building benefits.
So I still have to do some weights then.
Even just twice a week can be enough. So again, women don't feel like, oh my gosh, now I have to go live in the gym. It could be a total body workout twice a week that you could easily fit into your routine. It doesn't take a lot of time. Focus on some, major exercises, more bang for your buck. And that's enough. honestly, the consistency is more important than the frequency. Some people, oh, they're gung ho, let's go, go, go. And then
Yeah.
they sells out because it's not sustainable. Finding ways to have a little bit of that included somehow in a way that you enjoy, whether it's at home or at a gym or something else,
Yeah.
can reap a lot of benefits long term too, not just now, but in the future as well.
Right.
That's a really good point. The way that we exercise today is not the same as what we were doing in our 30s. And actually, pickleball has seemed to be a new and upcoming activity that many women my age have been enjoying, or low impact aerobics, or Pilates, or yoga. These are things that a lot of my friends do every day. Not every day, but at least twice a week. I know I do those. I walk every day. I have a dog. So my dogs get me out every day walking. So it goes to show that what we were doing for exercise earlier in our life versus where we are today, and how we can still get that exercise in different ways.
Absolutely. And being in this industry for so long, what I do now is not what I used to do. There's things that I have no interest in doing anymore because I also have to think about my joint health as well at this point. I've played sports, worked out, wonderful benefits from that, but that are also as a toll on the body where I also need to think about. So sometimes it goes from a mindset shift of to longevity. I'm almost 52. I think differently now than I did when I was 32, as far as what's important to me. Why am I doing these things when having a healthy lifestyle? My mindset had to shift as to what I'm doing and why. And I think a lot of women may need to take a moment to do that themselves, to have that shift of, well, what is important to me now? I'm sure their priorities have changed from where they used to be.
The mindset of where we are today versus where we are previously in our younger years.
You bring up a good point, Melissa, because when we are in our 30s or younger, we're trying to look fit and be thin and the healthy. Yeah, we want to be healthy. But I know when I was working out a lot and I was in my younger years and I was like, yes, I'm healthy, but also like the benefits of looking slim. But as we get older, the whole mindset shift of the longevity and okay, I'm doing this for my health. I'm doing this because I want to be able to, and I was having this conversation with my husband because he just started getting back into being active, and I've always been active, never been like an athlete, but I always would walk and hike and jog and swim. I always did that, especially once I got sick with Graves' disease. But I'm thinking of my mobility. I'm thinking of wanting to be able to not worry about falling, even though I'm only 50 and I'm pretty agile. But that's in my mind because I know people that aren't too much older than me, they could fall. Once you start losing your ability to move around, it's a lot harder to get that back.
The one other thing that I wanted to say about exercise, and that ties in with the whole picture, is that when we are exercising for our body type style, one of the benefits is helping with our stress level and our sleep. Because I know when I am a lot more active, I sleep better. If I'm getting upset or stressed out, going and taking a walk, it helps me to de-stress. So there are so many wonderful benefits to putting exercise into your life.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you mentioned a couple great things as far as sleep, stress management. A lot of women say, oh my gosh, they talk about fatigue. A lot of women are very tired because maybe they don't sleep well because their hormonal changes, or they're having night sweats and hot flashes that wake them up, when actually exercise is something that can help with minimizing those things and helping to get a more restful sleep. Sometimes we have to look at the additional benefits and keep those in mind when we say, oh, I don't really want to go do this. It's not just about, I want to lose weight or I want to look better. It's also the mental health aspect, like you mentioned, the sleep, the stress management, even hormonally, exercise can help with other medical conditions too. Insulin resistance, diabetes, heart disease, so many benefits that you could do an entire podcast just on that. So that's one very important piece. And so I just want to make sure women are making time for themselves to do that, because a lot of women at this point in our lives, we're being pulled in so many different directions. We've got so many things and people that need us, and we put ourselves a priority towards the bottom. And we need to make time for ourselves and say, it's okay for me to take 30 minutes or an hour to exercise, because you're going to show up better for everyone else if you are taking care of yourself, if you're feeling better, if you're sleeping better, if you're less stressed out. And I've seen it time and time again with clients. And one client that it was like a switch when she finally turned on that switch of, I need to make myself a priority because everybody else was. And it took time for us to get her there. And part of what I do as a coach is helping with that mindset with women. And it was almost like one day it just kind of clicked and she said, oh, and once she did that, her results just went like that. It was amazing to see how much better she felt. The weight started coming off. She was in a better mood. She slept better. All of these things sort of fell into place. For me, really neat to see that for her. And like I've said, I've seen it time and again where when women start to say it's okay to take that time and exercise or go to the yoga class for your stress management or get a massage, whatever it is that works for that person, can really go so far in helping them getting through this transition in our lives.
Well, for me, I really like that, the idea of getting a massage. Oh my goodness, it feels so good. And it instantly reduces my stress level
Yeah.
tremendously. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of women don't think of that. Like you said, we do so much for everybody else. And what I always tell my clients too, well, if you don't take care of you, who's going to take care of everybody else? It's like when you're on the plane and the flight attendant tells you to put your oxygen mask on yourself before everybody
Mhm.
else. That it's not selfish to take time for ourselves and to, especially when we're taking care of our health, even if we're reading a book or if we're getting a massage or getting a facial, something to, the self care, and especially if it's something like exercise, all of that, that is for us. It rejuvenates us, and then we have the energy. We have it to give the rest that we want to do. So I'm glad that you brought that
Absolutely.
up, and it's very
Yeah.
important.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Do we want to shift gears and talk about supplements?
Sure.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we all have talked about and we see in the group, everybody wants a supplement and they want to know, well, who's tried this? What do you take? And someone inevitably would say, well, I took this and it was great. And you'll have three or four people like, oh, that didn't do a thing for me, or that was a waste of money. And then
Right.
so someone's looking there going, well, I guess that's not going to work. Or,
Mhm.
well, I thought about taking this, but so and so over here on the internet said it didn't work. First of all, I want to ask, why do women do that? And what would you like to tell them?
Yeah. The first thing I'll say is I get concerned when people think that what's going to work for you is going to work the same for me, because our bodies are very different. And with all of these things, there is no one size fits all approach to menopause, to exercise, to nutrition, to supplements. So kind of in a bigger sense, that's one of my big things that I tell my clients, and I just try to put out there. And then the second thing is, we are a society of wanting, I want results yesterday. And so I think a lot of people think that a supplement is going to be the key to their weight loss or key to sleeping better or key to not having digestive issues, whatever it is. We have to remember the word is supplement. The supplement is really important. We've lost the whole meaning of that word. There needs to be other things in place, and that can be an additional thing, a supplement to what they are doing in their lifestyle habits. So if you're not doing these other things, no supplement is going to be the magic pill to fix those other things if you're still not eating in a more healthy way. It doesn't have to be perfect. Not doing some exercise or physical activity of some sort, not having a healthy sleep routine, or not managing your stress, whatever the thing is that you're trying to fix. I'm not against supplements by any means, but we also have to go into it in a different, again, here I am with mindset, right?
Right.
And our mindset has to be, I also need to be doing these other things. And then this might be the cherry on top to help me get there. So maybe you're doing a lot of great things, for example, with sleep, but maybe you're still struggling with a little bit of insomnia or whatever it is. And maybe you need something to help you fall asleep. And there might be something that is lacking or that can help you with that. But if you don't have a good sleep hygiene routine, the supplement can only do so much, or it might not work. it might have a different effect on you than maybe the majority of other people. That can happen too, where I might take something, I say, oh my God, it's the best thing ever. And then, Robin takes it and she says, oh yeah, me too, great. And then Marty takes it, she's like, I had the exact opposite reaction. And that can happen with a lot of things as far as supplements are concerned. And I'll say supplements are a non-regulated industry. So
Yes.
people have to understand that there's no FDA overlooking what is actually in the supplement. Is what they say in the supplement really in it? Are there additional things in your supplement that maybe aren't so great for you or that you don't even know are in there? Was the company reputable? There's a lot of variables there that can make a difference. And there are better brands and things out there than others. So I caution people whenever someone asks me about a supplement, they want recommendations, they want some of my guidance, I will tell you what I know about it. I can tell you the science and what has been shown to be true so far, whether it even works or not, because there are studies out there that don't look at everything, but not every supplement. And then I will also tell them, you need to do your own research and you need to also understand other medications that you're taking, medical conditions that you have, other things that we need to take in consideration that maybe your friend or loved one or whoever is taking something doesn't have that might affect the blood pressure medication you're taking or the thyroid medication or whatever it is. So we have to do our own research. We need to make sure if we have medical conditions, discuss it with your physician. Are there any things I shouldn't be taking? Or is this maybe not appropriate with a medication I'm on or a medical condition I have? And then go from there before just saying, oh, yeah, well, that worked for so and so. Supplements are a multi-billion-dollar industry, and they can't always prove that they actually are doing anything in a lot of ways.
Yeah, there's no guarantees.
No.
I completely agree with you. I know that supplements are just a part of the picture. And a couple things that you have said that I really keyed in on is that it's not a one size fits all for everybody. All us women that are going through menopausal symptoms and things like that, we have our own picture that we get to put all the pieces together, and not all the pieces are the same for everybody, right? And I know we're coaches and we're doctors and we're care providers with the menopause group, and that's part of what our mission is to help women to find the pieces that fit well for them. That's why we ask questions. That's why we bring good information. That's why we listen really well to what you're saying so that we can help you design your menopause journey to help balance out your life so that your menopause experience doesn't have to be such a terrible, horrible,
scary, lonely
scary
journey.
Lonely journey. Exactly. The one question I have is, do you have any kind of like recommendations that women should be taking as far as supplements? Like, I know for myself, I take vitamin C, D, I take a collagen, I take a good probiotic. I think those are kind of like the basics. Omegas, I take those. So, do you have any kind of like a basic, you should have these types of things in your diet suggestion?
Sure. I will say that when I have this discussion with a client, I will also say our first thing we want to do is get as much as we can from our food as far as our nutrients are concerned, our vitamins, our minerals. And then I'll use myself as an example. I have never liked fish. I just will not eat it. It's a texture, it's a smell. I can't. So I know I have to find other sources of omega-3 fatty acids because I know they're important. So I will supplement with something like that because I know I'll be deficient because I'm not getting it enough from flax seeds or other things in my diet. So sometimes it takes an analysis when I speak with someone as far as looking at what does their diet look like? Are they deficient in certain things because maybe they are lactose intolerant, so they don't touch dairy. Maybe they're going to be low in calcium, so maybe they need a calcium supplement, or maybe they tell me they have some joint issues, so maybe they need something that will help with their joint inflammation and things like that. So sometimes it's difficult to give like general recommendations as far as everybody should be having this as far as supplements are concerned. But I will say some of the typical things that I see: vitamin C, is a good one. It's great as far as inflammation. When people say have a surgery or are healing, it can help with that process. So that and it is a water soluble vitamin. So if you get too much in your diet and with a supplement, you're basically just going to pee it out any excess. So there's not going to be a buildup in your system like other kinds of things. Most people tend to be, especially Americans, tend to be low on the omega-3s. So a lot of times we get a lot of omega-6 in our diet, but omega-3, the ratio is off. So usually that's a pretty safe one to have people supplement with because they tend to be in our typical American diet, even people who eat healthy tend to be a little low on that one. So those are a couple good ones. Collagen is very popular. It became popular a few years ago. That one is very interesting because there's a lot of people who say, oh, I notice a big difference. And then there are other people who said, I didn't really notice a difference. And then there's different kinds of collagen out there too. So it depends on what your goals are for the collagen and then what's going to work for that person too. So those are kind of interesting things when it gets to supplements is I get into my it depends answer as far as questions when people say, what should I take? Or is this good? I'm like, well, it depends. And then we have to kind of dig a little deeper to see what's really necessary for that person.
Mm-hmm. Good answer.
And then it saves them money too. I don't want people taking things and wasting their money on something that they really is not going to benefit them.
I really like that idea of how we balance our diet with our supplements, but also with our exercise. And we don't have to starve ourselves in order to lose weight. We can change what is going on in our diet, and our body will go, oh, okay, I like this. I can let go of some of this weight because it turns on certain receptors and turns off. And food is very much a part of that equation. Is that true?
Yeah, and you make a really good point. When it comes to the nutrition piece, I mean, that's a big one. And it goes back to the mindset that a lot of women have when we start to see our body change and the weight gain comes and we start to think, I've got to exercise more and I've got to eat less. And I see so many women, they cut out entire food groups. They say, oh, I can never have a drink of alcohol again. I can't have this. And it's so negative, which I feel so bad about because I always try to look at what can we do? What can we have rather than switching that mindset instead of saying, well, I can't have this or I'll never that. And that's hard. It's very difficult to get out of that mindset. So it takes time to get there. But I do encourage women to not feel like they have to starve themselves in order to lose the weight because it's not necessary. There's not one diet out there that's like, oh, that's the one that's going to work for you. That's what you have to do. Again, we're very individual. What might work for me to manage my weight may look a little different for you or someone else. And so our bodies need fuel. When we starve ourselves, that negatively affects our metabolism as well. We're all in those kind of generation of what messages we got as young women and even young girls. Yeah. Everything was about weight loss, lose weight. You have to look a certain way. You know, the very stick thin look was in. We come from a diet culture. And so we think that, oh my gosh, I've got to continue that process. And over the years, fat was the devil, then carbs were the devil. And I'm like, we need all of those things. So don't cut something out. And women need to understand that as far as fat in our diet, there are different kinds of fat, of course. So healthier fats actually help with our hormones. So when women get older and into this range where our hormones start to shift, fat is part of the hormone process in our bodies and creating hormones. So we need sometimes a little more fat in our diet in order, as far as when we talk about macros. And that's a big term that's come out there into the public where it used to just kind of be us in the, nutrition space would talk about it. But macros are basically macronutrients: protein, fat, and carbohydrates. Those are your three macros. And sometimes those percentages have to shift when we get into the menopause transition compared to what macros worked for you in the past. So I will give a tip here for a lot of women too when it comes to the macros. Protein is something we need to start prioritizing a little bit more to help with the weight loss, to help with a muscle building, or at least not losing more muscle, helping us feel full, between meals because it does slow the process of digestion down. And I could go on and on. So we need to look at that and say, I need to make sure I'm having some protein with every meal. For example, you don't have to worry about what specific percentage. Let's just try to have some protein with every meal. Let's make sure we're getting that in on a regular basis for our body. And it's amazing how much your body will start to shift, cravings start to go away without having to say, well, you can't have this, you can't have that. It's you can have this. And then
Yeah.
I don't crave sugar anymore because I'm not starving myself and I'm getting the protein up where my body needs it to be. And then our body starts to just magically correct itself.
Yeah,
And
it's not the beauty about our bodies. I just
yeah, it's
love that.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and that's a really good point, because I know that when I'm eating healthy, I don't have a craving for something salty or something sweet, right?
Mhm.
Because my body is getting what it needs, right? And I don't feel like I have to overeat or add something different like pretzels or cookies or whatever. When I start noticing that I'm craving something, that's when I have to go, okay, what's going on with my diet that's causing this? So it's a red flag for me, but I had to learn that. And I think that that comes with the mindset shift, is to be able to tune into what is going on inside your body and be able to listen to what your body is telling you. And I also like what you said about when we go on these diets and we're not feeding our bodies right. When we starve our body will start storing fat because it thinks
Absolutely.
that, oh, I'm not going to get fed, or I'm not going to get what I need. And you're not going to lose weight if your body is holding on to it. But if your body feels like it's getting everything that it needs, then it will start saying, okay, I can start letting go of this.
Exactly. You're exactly right. And it's hard again for women in our generation to have that shift of mindset because we've always been told something very different that, oh, if I starve myself, if I eat less, then I'll lose weight. It's simple calories in, calories out. But when those calories are so low, our bodies go into that protective mode, and it's a biological thing. You're not going to change it. And it goes back to fat. Fat is a fuel source. And your body goes, uh-oh, I don't know when I'm going to get fed again, but she's making me clean the house, go to work, take care of the kids, take care of the aging parents, go exercise, do this. And your body goes, well, I got to have this storage for when she makes me do this. I need to have those calories in reserve. And so it's going to hold on to that fat, just like you said. And once we start getting women to adequately fuel their bodies, it really is amazing how your body starts to reset itself and says, oh, wait, okay, now I know I'm getting fed regularly. Oh, she's giving me the fuel I need to go throughout my day. It's scary to me to see women eating what like a toddler should be eating for calories in a day. And it's unfortunate because you'll see that so often. I said, you don't have to starve and be miserable and hungry all the time. It's not necessary. And they're like, what? No way. I don't believe you. And so it takes time and trust to understand that there's actually a better way to do this and you can still enjoy your life.
Yes.
And that's so important. And I was thinking of a couple of examples that I had dealt with. I had this client come in. Part of what I do is help with the mindset as a hypnotist, and some of it has to do with cravings and working on the mental thing. But I had this woman come in, and she was probably about my mom's age, so she's probably at the time was probably in her 60s, and she just couldn't believe it. She goes, I only eat one blueberry muffin a day, and I'm not losing weight. And professionally, I can't give dietary advice or nutritional advice, but I posted like, okay, imagine like you've got this fire burning, and imagine that this blueberry muffin is a crumpled up piece of paper, and imagine that, a nice lean piece of chicken or something is a big log. You throw those on the fire, what's going to happen? The blueberry muffin is just going to flame and go away, and going to be hungry again, but that nice piece of protein is going to burn slower. And I put that, and it got through to her, but she's like, I don't understand. I'm so frustrated. I can't eat less than I'm eating now. I'm like, no, love, that's not the point. That's not what we do. And that's not going to work. And then to your point too, talking about my mom, she was with that, caught up in that whole, that I think a lot of us were in the 80s and 90s, is fat is bad. Fat is
Mhm.
horrible. I remember being in college, and one of my dorm roommates, she would order a cheese pizza and pull the cheese off and just eat the crust and sauce. But my mother too, she went on a complete fat-free thing forever. So what her idea of a healthy meal was a fat-free tortilla and cheese whiz, because cheese whiz is fat-free. And I'm sad to say she has passed, and heart disease related, but not quite. I mean, she was healthy. It was a whole thing, but I can't help but think it's like, my goodness, I thought of all of the evenings where she would not eat. She would just starve herself with one tortilla with cheese whiz. And it just goes to show that mindset of what women of our generation are up against, because fat is bad and being fat is the worst thing you could do. I'm reading books. I'll see things like written as, I'm this horrible, terrible person, all this stuff, but at least I'm not fat. At least I kept my figure. I'm like, well, great. Those of all of us who are good people, and we try to take care of everyone around us and put everybody else before us. And, we have all of this love to give and all of these gifts to give those around us. Oh, but we're fat, or we have more weight than we want to have. And it can be so discouraging. I get caught up in that too. I mean, I have my own challenges, and, is that fear and that feeling of like, well, I'm the only one who feels this way and everybody else seems to have it together. Mm-hmm. And I know that that's an important topic with you as well, feeling alone and being scared and thinking I'm the only one going through this.
Right. Yeah. And that's one of the first things I say, like when people come on maybe to the Facebook group or in person, even just my friend groups locally here, say, you're not alone. So understand, they might talk about whatever their problem is. And I'll say, well, let me first say that that's a normal change in your body. You're not alone. So many other women are going through this. And that's what's great about that group and things like this podcast is putting it out there for women to understand you're not alone in this. You're not the only person having this crazy symptom of menopause, whatever it is, which on the giant long list of things that could be going on in your body, that you're not crazy. There's not a lot of information out there. Our moms didn't talk about menopause. Right. I think the first time I talked to my mom about menopause was just recently. And she said, menopause wasn't too bad for me. I asked her, what did you do? And she's like, nothing. It wasn't too bad. I didn't really have a lot of hot flashes or things like that. And my mom is 89 right now and still living a great life. She and my dad are very independent, and I've got some great genes, so I'm lucky. So that also makes me think about my longevity and living well until then. But we don't know that these things are normal things happening to our bodies because it was never told to us. We didn't have these conversations. And so I'm so glad that we're starting to have more conversations and put information out there for women to understand that, hey, somebody else has that too. I'm not crazy. This isn't just in my head. And, oh, wow, I've got a sisterhood of other women that can help support me through this. It might be a mentally exhausting and draining, and maybe you're feeling depressed and because of all these things happening, and understanding that there is help out there. There are things you can do that you have control over. So I think a lot of women feel like they're out of control. They don't know their bodies, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure we've all been there to some level. And I will tell women, it's not just you. I've been there, and maybe this happened to me, or maybe one of my clients, if it wasn't a symptom I had or something that I dealt with individually, and helping them realize that they can feel better. They don't have to suffer. They are not alone. And there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
And you can have a healthy, balanced life with menopause. These are the things that we as care providers help ladies with, whether you're, coming on as our clients or just having conversations. We want to help you to put those pieces together so that, you're not having extreme highs and lows, and you're not alone, that you can live a healthy, productive life through these menopausal years, through this journey. And there's just no one size fits all kind of answer to give everybody. That's why we have to share, we have to support, we have to every day check where we're at, check in with our bodies, check in with our emotional needs and how it connects with our bodies. Some days I wake up and it takes me a little longer to get out of bed, but also too, I'm doing my mental check inside. I'm doing a little meditation, saying a prayer, getting out and doing my walking, make sure that I'm eating, make sure that I'm staying hydrated. And that's something that we really hadn't talked about in this equation, is how to stay hydrated, because that is something that we so need in our life. But it really is a balance. And how do we find that balance?
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent points. And the biggest thing for women is I wish there was a one size fits all. I wish it were that easy to just say, oh, do X, Y, Z, and that'll fix all these things. There are some, general guidelines and things, but we have to also look at the individual. I know women want, they're desperate for answers, they're desperate for help. And that's why we do what we do. That's why we're passionate about what we do, because we know that there are answers out there, but it's not always an easy answer. We have to look into what are the things going on with this particular person? What are they already doing? Like puzzle pieces. What puzzle pieces? Maybe they think they're doing all the right things, but maybe there's things they haven't thought about that are holding them back to really getting to where they want to be and kind of being on an upswing. Not every day is stellar. Some days you wake up, you're like, whoa, my joints are really, wow. I feel like I went around in a boxing match yesterday. What did I do? And it's lasted for a day and then it's gone. But, sometimes there are just those days where you're less motivated or you don't have as much energy or whatever it is. And we have to just kind of get through it step by step, day by day, and just say, okay, well, today's another day. Let's reset and go again. Because if we try to look at the big picture all the time, and it can be very daunting. So just take it step by step and allow the process to happen rather than hoping that there'll be like a light switch and everything will be perfect, because not every day is going to be great. But and to be honest, and to let other women understand that I'm not over here saying, oh, I've got all the answers. I know, my life is
Right.
100% every day. It's not. And we're very honest with that and saying, hey, look, we're going through this too. As you go through the journey, perimenopause in the beginning is different than maybe perimenopause as you get deeper into it and closer to that menopause date where we hit that. Sometimes you have to continually readjust and reevaluate and do things a little differently as you transition through that time.
Mhm. Very true. Very true. Well, this has been such an amazing conversation, and I just love all the topics that we talked about. I would just say, kind of wrapping up, what are some last bits of advice and what do you feel like your message is?
Sure. The biggest things in summary for women is understanding that these changes to your body are a normal process and you can do something about feeling better. And that you don't have to suffer through the menopause transition and feel terrible, have not enough energy, all the different things that go into whether it's physical, mental, emotional, etc. That there is help out there, and it's okay to ask for help, because again, I find that women just think that they've got to just grin and bear it or just knuckle through it when they don't have to. And that's why I do what I do. I got into this because I saw that there was a space lacking for women in the kind of fitness, nutrition, health zone that I was in, that you're either 25 or you're 85, and we kind of fall into this kind of no man's land. And so I kind of got deeper into that and saying, well, how can I help women, because we don't have to suffer through this, and what can I do to help them and to teach them, get the good information out there, try to weed through, because there's so much out there as far as misinformation, and I don't want women to be led down the wrong path. That's a big thing. Is it's okay to ask for help. We're here as subject experts to help kind of weed through those things. That's a big part of what I do. And then understanding that, beyond that, okay, you're not alone. You don't have to suffer. There are a lot of puzzle pieces, we kind of talked about that before in different ways, that need to kind of fit together, that might take a little more work and maybe a little more time than it might have in the past, but you can get there and you can thrive during this part of your life and not dread this transitional journey that you're on and just hope that it ends. It's beyond just weight gain. It's beyond nutrition and exercise. There are other components that affect those things too, like sleep, like stress management, allowing your body to recover, taking care of yourself, and making yourself a priority. And that's a big thing we talked about today too, is making yourself a priority and saying, it's okay to take care of me. Maybe this is finally the time you'll do it. I hope. Right?
Exactly. Melissa, do you mind sharing with us a little bit more about what you do to help women? What some of your offering, your programs, or how we can even get and reach out to you and work with you?
Yeah. Yeah. I have a few different things that I do. I am in the Gilbert, Arizona area. So locally, I do have local clients that I work with in personal training, nutrition, etc. I also have a big online component to what I do. So I have women from anywhere in the world that can work with me if they want help with their nutrition, their exercise, stress management. It's kind of it's a wellness approach for what I do. The majority of what I do is one-on-one coaching because we are individuals. So there is not that one set approach for everybody. So I do a really big deep dive into what people are doing, what their goals are. And so I always offer everyone a free consultation just to discover what's going on, what's bothering you. Are there things I can help you with or discuss to help in this journey? So the majority of what I do is an individualized approach. And whether it's fitness programming, helping them with their nutrition, whatever their goals are, we kind of find the right things that work for them. And sometimes women might come to me and say, my fitness is on point. Maybe I already have a personal trainer locally, so I feel comfortable with that, but I need help with just nutrition. So sometimes it's certain things they need help with. Maybe it's not everything. And so I'll say, well, I can step in and do this part and make sure everything is just kind of firing on all cylinders for them to maximize what their results are. And then because I'm big into saying no to diets, so I do have a self-paced 12-week course where women can get emails from me and support from me to just get off that mindset of the diet train that so many of us have been on for might be decades. There is that as an option for women if they're like, well, I don't know if I want this one-on-one coaching, or maybe this is an area I need to work on. So that's there too. And they can find these things on my website, and that's thrivefitnesstherapy.com. So that's where they can find information for me. They can request a free consultation. They can learn a little bit more about me personally to understand, well, who is she? Because I think that's important for them to understand who their coach is, what my background and specialties are. And, they can always find me in the menopause group as well. So if someone is part of the Facebook group or the VIP Facebook group, I'm in there too. So they can always just send me a message directly and say, hey, Melissa, I've got some questions or I need help. Sometimes it's just, I need help.
Yes.
And I thought, okay, well, what's going on? Let's look into things. I'm an advocate for women in a lot of different ways. And this is one way I feel very passionate about helping other women, because I think we should lift other women up and be a support. So that's why I love the whole idea of these groups and this podcast. I love being able to be part of this too. So I thank you for letting me come on and talk about some things that I feel, so are so important for women.
Well, we have so enjoyed having you, Melissa, and just so interesting, bringing up all these really important topics and just knowing that you're there. You're a great resource for our audience. Marti, do you have any last closing comments?
This is just so fantastic, and I just love I love your message, Melissa. I mean, absolutely, these women are not alone. I like the idea of like, just say help, just reach out for help. I imagine like sending out the bat signal like help. We don't need to suffer. None of us need to suffer in silence. It feels like we're alone, but we're not. And so many of us here as care providers and as women who are going through it, we have our talents and we've seen this, and we have ideas, we have ways to look at it. And it might be stuff that maybe women have never even thought of. I know for like the work that I do with the hypnosis, people are like, I don't know about that. I thought it was just for smoking and for that. I'm like, well, no, it's for all sorts of emotions. But expand your horizons, try something new. If you, just like with the exercise, try something different, eating a different way. It couldn't hurt, and it can absolutely help all of us if we open mind and be willing. And it's okay to be shy too. It's okay, even reach out to any one of us privately. And I may not have that expertise, but I sure as heck know who does. And I can connect you.
Good point. I was going to say that too. If I can't help you, I will help you find someone who can, if that's not my expertise. Everything is confidential. If someone reaches out, and I'm sure same for you, we're not going to broadcast it into the group. I want people to understand that we take this very seriously. This is what we do. We are professionals, and we will hold their information and their privacy, because I have a lot of women that they don't want anyone to know that they're working with me, for example. I said, no one will know. That's your private journey and that's how you want it. And I will respect that fully. And so, because a lot of women, I think, may be afraid to reach out to one of us. So if you don't feel comfortable putting in the group, send us a private message. It will stay private.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Confidentiality number one. We're here to be engaging and to have that camaraderie, but we're all professionals. We all have our code of operating ethics and standards, and confidentiality. Exactly.
Very good.
So thank you for that.
Well, ladies, it's about time to wrap it up. Once again, thank you, Melissa, for being our guest. If you see the podcast and you like it, please leave us a comment, ask questions, or just give us a thumbs up. Let us know that you're watching it. And we'd like to hear from you. If there's some good questions that we can answer for you on one of our podcasts, we would love to do that too. So once again, thank you for joining us on Minowave Lounge, Hot Flashes, and Cool Conversations.
Thank you for joining us in the Minowave Lounge. If you'd like to connect with Marti, Robin, our guests, or any of our expert Minowave care providers for personalized advice and support, head on over to our website at minowave.org and fill out an assessment that will match you with a provider who knows just how to help. Remember, you don't have to face menopause alone. Our team is here to provide the guidance and care you deserve. So, take that step towards reclaiming your well-being and connect with a Minowave care provider today. Thank you again for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next episode of the Minowave Lounge, Hot Flashes and Cool Conversations.